Hello, it's time for literacy. Today is December 3rd, and we're going to be working on page 13 in our letter book. So you'll need your letter book. You'll need to turn to page 13. We'll need our pencils for our listening page after we hear our story. We are actually a little bit ahead in our letter book, so we don't have quite as much work to do today and tomorrow. We're going to let the other class catch up with us so that we're all on the same page when we start next week. So we're going to be listening to a legend. I know what a legend is. It's kind of a strange word. Legend. So a legend is when someone passes down a story from way back. Sometimes they're written down. Sometimes it's by word of mouth. And the one that we're going to be listening to today is the Star Maiden. We talked a little bit about Native Americans when we were talking about Thanksgiving and how they were the first people who were in our country. And they are the first Americans, the Native Americans. And so this story comes from their culture and their tradition, and it's called the Star Maiden. So you'll need to turn to page 13. You'll look for a 1 and a 3 right there on that little igloo. You'll see a picture. You'll see two people here, and it looks like maybe a Native American village right here. And we're going to start here and work our way down the page. I will point as we need to move to a different picture as our story moves along. All right, put your listening ears on, and we're going to start on page 13.
This is Listening CD 4, Track 6. For use with pages 13 to 14 of Letterbook I.
When you hear this sound, look at the next picture. Today we are going to hear a very old Native American or Indian story. The story is about a fairy, a little make-believe person, called the Star Maiden. The Star Maiden became the special friend of a group of Native American people called the Ojibwe. This story tells how the Star Maiden found a home with the Ojibwe Indians.
The Legend of the Star Maiden. One night long ago, the hunters of the Ojibwe tribe were gathered around the campfire resting after a day of hunting. As they looked up at the sky, they saw a bright light shining in the top of the tallest tree. It was like a star, but it was not up in the sky. It was caught in the highest branches of the tree. It seemed to want something, but they could not tell what.
Okay, we're moving here.
Later that night, one of the hunters had a dream. He dreamed that the star came and spoke to him as he lay asleep. When the star spoke, he realized that it was not really a star, but a tiny fairy maiden.
I am a star princess. I have been wandering the earth, looking for a home. I have come to your land and have seen that it is a beautiful land, full of sunlight. Wild flowers grow everywhere, and the rivers are clear and blue. I wish to make my home in your land.
When the hunter told the others about the Star Maiden's wish, they were very happy and welcomed her to their beautiful land.
Okay, we're moving right here.
So the tiny Star Maiden started to search for a house. First, she went to a field. There she found a lacy spider web strung between two blades of grass.
This will make a lovely home.
She climbed into the spider web and lay gazing at the beautiful land around her. But just as she was getting settled into her spider web home, the Star Maiden heard a terrible rumbling and thumping noise. A herd of buffalo came galloping across the field, snorting and tumbling in the grass.
Oh no! This will never do. The buffalo could trample my little house. I must find a safer place.
Next, she went to the mountain. There she found a hollow acorn and climbed inside. It was just the right size for her, and from her cozy little house she could look up and see the stars. But after a while she grew lonely in her acorn house. Up on the mountain, she was too far away from her friends, the Ojibwe. So she left her acorn house, wondering if she would ever find a home that would be right for her. Days passed, and the Star Maiden still had not found a house. Then one day she was walking along the edge of the lake, and she found a bright yellow flower, a buttercup. On the lake near the flower, some boys were fishing in their canoes. She could hear their laughter and happy voices. With a glad heart, the Star Maiden ran to the buttercup and climbed into the flower.
The buttercup shall be my home. Here I can be near the people I love, the people who want to share their beautiful land with me.
This is how the Star Maiden found her home with the Ojibwe Indians. When the people of the tribe came to the lake, they were always careful not to step on the Star Maiden's home. When the women picked flowers, they never disturbed the buttercup that was the Star Maiden's home. And when the children heard small, strange sounds or saw a shadow moving in the field, they were not afraid, for they knew that it must be the Star Maiden.
Okay, friends, so we heard a story. There were some hunters, and they were members of the Ojibwe tribe. So they were Native American hunters, and they were out, and they saw what they thought was a star. But they later realized that it was a fairy. It was a maiden fairy. And she appeared to one of the hunters in a dream. So she decided she wanted to find a home, and she first tried a spider web. But do you remember what came trampling by this? She realized it was not a good place to have a home. There was a herd of buffalo, and here are the buffalo, and they were trampling along, and she decided that was not a good place for her to have a home. So she went to the mountains and made a home in an acorn. But she realized that she missed the Ojibwe people and wanted to be with them. So she eventually found a home near the Ojibwe in a buttercup. So that is the story of the Star Maiden. All right, we're going to flip over. You need to get your pencils. We're going to do some comprehension questions. We're going to be right here. Our first row has a little beach ball. So turn to page 14. You need to turn one page, and we'll be working across the top row. If you need to, you could use a blank sheet of paper to cover up the other rows. We're going to start right here, and here is our first question.
Now, turn the page and get your pencils ready. You are going to answer some questions about the legend of the Star Maiden. Look at the first row of pictures with the ball in it. What did the hunters see caught in the tree? Look at each picture and draw a circle around the picture that shows what the hunters saw.
So do you remember in our first picture, the hunter saw something in the tallest tree. Was it a star, a bird, or an acorn? Right, they thought it was a star. So you're going to make a nice circle around the star. We're moving to our next row. You'll see there's an apple. And here are our choices for our next question.
Now look at the row with the apple in it. What did the star turn out to be? Look at the pictures and draw a circle around the picture that shows what the star turned out to be.
Was the star a troll, a crescent moon, or was it a maiden, a Native American maiden? You got it. It's the maiden. So you're going to draw a circle around the maiden. All right, now we're moving down to this middle row. There is an umbrella to indicate the row.
Look at the row with the umbrella. What frightened the Star Maiden away from her spider web house? Draw a circle around the picture that shows what frightened the Star Maiden.
Was it a horse, buffalo, or a snake? Yep, it was a herd of buffalo. So you're going to circle the buffalo. Moving down to the rabbit.
Point to the row with the rabbit. What did the Star Maiden live in when she moved to the mountain? Draw a circle around the picture that shows what the Star Maiden lived in on the mountain.
Okay, think about the question. This is when she moved to the mountain. Was she in a spider web, an acorn, or a buttercup? Right, it was the acorn. And that is where she realized that she was lonely, and that was not a good home. So circle the acorn. We're on the bottom row. There's a little bug.
Now find the last row with the ladybug in it. The Star Maiden finally found a happy home by the lake. What became the Star Maiden's house by the lake? Draw a circle around the picture that shows what became the Star Maiden's house.
Okay, what did she finally decide was a good home for her? The buttercup. So you should circle the flowers. Remember that the other Native American maidens were very careful not to step on the buttercups because they knew that's where the Star Maiden lived. So that, my friends, is the story of the Star Maiden. So that is literacy for today, and I will see you tomorrow, and we will complete Letter Book I.